Welcome to another random review and how-to. Today, I'm showing you my chili recipe. There's a couple ingredients here that you might not have access to, such as venison burger. I shot those. But I think the key to remember is that you can mix meats. So I just got some lean ground beef to go with venison, mixing a lot of that up. I've done sausage in here before, so this is all variable. And I would say go out there and try different meats, combine things, put sausage. If you have venison or bison or things like that, don't be afraid to mix them. So I got some oil here. That's going to obviously be just for the pan to get things hot. I got my two assistants here getting ready to have.
I help you make this one too?
This is right. So other things I put in which are a little different. I do a combination of baby portobellas or just portobellas in general and a cremini. I think that's how we're going to say that. Cremini mushrooms. 2 onions, about medium size. I don't want to put too many onions, but those are good size for what we're doing. Then we got 3 apples, which I've already peeled, but I'm going to... Because we're going to sweeten it up there, little sweet girl. So we got 3 apples. We're going to dice these. We're going to dice our onions. We're going to dice up our mushrooms. And then, that's the meat we already talked about that. Pay attention. Over here, we got hot peppers. So the keys that I like is I always put jalapenos, and all I'm going to do is cut off the ends and seed them, and then let those sit in whole. But depending on how much spice I want, I got some habaneros here. I got some, let me see, I think those are finger hots, serrano, and red frescas. So these add extra heat and spice.
They're so hot.
They're so hot. So based on how it tastes when I'm eating it, as I'm cooking it, I add more or less of this. I don't use any kind of spice that's going to add heat, but I do use chili powder. Any kind of brand chili powder is fine. Paprika really doesn't have a spice to me at all, so that's more just for color and then a little bit of taste, but no spice. Little ground pepper, salt I'll add. And then my other key that I use is I use crushed and diced tomatoes. So I use a combination of these 3. Brands to me don't matter. I am typically a red pack guy. But what we're going to do is go ahead and start. The first thing I'm going to start is cooking the meat. So I'm going to add all the meat. And over here you can see I got my giant pan. I'm going to cook everything in here. We're going to cook it pretty much medium the whole time. We might kick it up a little bit just to get it to boil. But we're going to go ahead and get this started. I almost left out one of the main ingredients. So beer. You could do whatever you want. Right now Oktoberfest just came out, so I'm using that. I usually use a Guinness or a stout beer. Something dark, typically. But because it's fall and I want to just maybe absorb some pumpkin flavors and things like that, I went with the Great Lakes Oktoberfest beer. So that's part of this chili, and you'd be surprised how much flavor this actually adds in everything we're doing. Question, Grace? Yeah, so if you have children, you could always cook up choo-choo noodles and then put this chili over top. It's almost like a meat sauce, huh?
Yeah.
Or you could just eat them by yourself, and that's what you're probably going to do.
That's mine.
That's yours. Okay, so we're going to get started. I added oil to my pan. And I'm going to go ahead and just put all of this meat in and start simmering it on medium and just stirring it and getting it nice and cooked before I add any ingredients. The things with these is they're pretty fresh right now, but I do want to break those down and then dice it up as small as I can. Okay, so my meat's in. It's going to look something like that when it starts. There's my diced apples, and I think what you should note about apples is they're going to be sweet, right? So I got Honeycrisp apples. I don't think I mentioned that. But the sweeter the apple, the better. So if they're in season and they're very sweet or a little tart, that's good because it helps you cut some of the heat you might put in. So I just diced these, but you'll notice I left some of the pieces bigger and some of the pieces smaller. And the reason for that is once they start to cook, these actually break down, but they still stay chunks. So when you're eating it, you kind of get that different in texture and you have some really soft flavors in there. I'm a big proponent of having different textures in your food. The other thing over here, we got our meat going. You can see it's steaming a little bit, so if you just give this a stir and pull off the bottom, you can see that I'm starting to cook thorough. So I will cook this meat completely before I add anything else into it. Okay, onions. Again, like apples, all about texture. My wife's not a big fan of onions, so I cut them a lot smaller because then you're not going to have big chunks that you're crunching on, but you're going to get a ton of flavor out of these. These were yellow onions. I think I keep forgetting to say what kind of things I'm getting. Just regular yellow onions. Spanish onions are good. Purple onions are a no-no. White onions are a no-no. So yellow or Spanish onions is what you want to do here. Diced pretty fine compared to my apples. Mushrooms are now diced. Again, texture. Leave some big pieces, leave some little ones. Just mixed them all together. Gonna go check on our meat over here. You can see the color is definitely changed. It's getting more gray. It's boiling, but again, I'm on medium down here, so you're never going to really burn your meat as long as you keep stirring it. So that's key. Keep stirring as you're cutting. You're going to cut forever. That's where all the time is taken up, is cutting everything up. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of cut these peppers up real fine. I'm going to make just a little mixture of them. With the jalapenos, I'm going to at least cut 2 of them really, really fine. But then I'm going to keep these ones. Sometimes I like to just crack these and then stick them in and let them kind of just soak it all up. So I'm going to cut these, again, with my jalapenos. I'm just going to cut off the ends and seed them and then use those as like big flavors. Grace, you have something to say?
And this is my favorite part.
Grace is our official salter.
If there's a lot of salt in the green beans, she insists that she needs more.
You guys love salt. Peppers are all chopped up. These are very finely chopped. And what I like is that I mix them. So there's habanero. There's all those other peppers I named earlier. Those are nice little surprises that are going to fall in here. So I got just a little pile of them there. And then you can see what I do with my jalapenos is I actually hollow them out. So I seed them, I hollow them. Because I buy so many serranos, I like keeping these separate. And then I'm going to dice these into like just little slivers. And I'm going to mix them with a little bit of habanero. And then I just keep those on the side because when I actually get ready to go eat this, I always put a spoonful of fresh peppers on top. So I would highly recommend, if you're making this for whatever, go ahead and just dice up some of these extra and then you have them to put on top. So right now we're ready because our meat has now, you can see, started to bubble. It's completely grayed out. So we're ready to just add everything. And what I do is I always add in this big ingredient here first. Just going to drop that in like that. Give it a shake or two. Okay, so we're all in there. That's good. Go ahead and grab our mushrooms. Rossi Jr. helping out. Cheese, he says. So now we got our mushrooms in. Again, these are just mixed. More mushrooms. All right. We're all in with our mushrooms. And I'm going to go ahead and put my peppers in, but I got to drop the phone for that. And then we're just going to go ahead and stir all this and just let this all start to cook together. It's going to pull out some juice from the apple. The mushrooms are going to put water out, and then we're going to start to add our spice, our salt, our pepper. Grace is excited and ready to do that. The last thing I add before I add my sauce is the beer. So we're going with these next. We got our spices Grace is keyed up on, and then we're going to put the beer in. Just kind of deglaze, if you want to use that word. All in here, and then our sauce goes in. Just look at those colors in there. I mean, that's another thing to consider is your coloring you're adding. There's no right or wrong things to put in chili. You might be saying to yourself, why are there no beans? My wife doesn't like beans, so I don't have any beans. But this is more of just a meat chili. It's honestly almost like a meat sauce. Being that I make a lot of meat sauces, that's what it reminds me of. So you could literally put this on pasta and it's delicious. So all of this is in here. Cooking it down for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add the beer right now. Let's show you what that looks like. All right, we're adding in our Great Lakes Oktoberfest beer. Just one. You don't want to get it too much. If we put all our sauce in and there's it's more meaty and not watery enough, you can add another beer there. Sometimes I like to add water. But now I have all these ingredients in here and I'm just going to stir them all around and just let them cook for a little bit without adding in my last part, which is really the wet ingredients of it with the sauce. We've reduced this down now for about 10 minutes. You can see the juice is starting to come up. Again, on medium. Don't go over medium. We're going to add some of our tomato ingredients. We got petite diced again and crushed. Again, all about texture. So I'm going to add these in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stir this in. And I can already tell you right now that it's just going to be more meat than anything. So I like to add water. I'm going to go ahead and get some water over here. Oh, the old sinkaroo. I'm going to do about a half of a can. And I use the same can just to get anything that's left over, and I'm going to go ahead and dump that in. And we're going to go ahead and stir this, start to see what it comes out like consistency-wise. Now, if you're going to cook this for a long time, it's not a bad idea to put more water in than you think, or more sauce, or more beer, whichever one you want to do. Again, this is your chili to make it your own. Put as much as you want. So you can see that consistency now. We got definitely some water ingredients, but as this cooks down all day, you're going to lose a lot of water out of it. So you're going to lose a lot of your moisture, which is going to leave over meat. You're going to have a lot of the thick ingredients left. This is really about cooking. I'm actually making this for a weekend. We're going camping. So I'm making this for really tomorrow and Saturday. It's Thursday. And, you know, I'm going to cook it as long as I can the night. And then once we get out to the campground, we'll cook it all day while we're there. but that's going to reduce. So I want to make sure there's a little more liquid inside than I would typically do. So color-wise, it's starting to get a little brown. You can see that. I like it when it's darker. So that's where our spices are going to come into play. And I'm going to call my assistant Grace in to add the spices. All right, so we got Grace with the chili powder. Go ahead and just go ahead and dump that. Again, we're not using measurements. All right, that's good. So we're not using measurements. Chili powder, again, to me, doesn't have heat, but it adds color and flavor. So we're going to do that. We got a paprika. We're not going to put a lot of that, so go easy with it, okay? Don't dump the whole thing. There you go. A little dish dash. Dish dash. Dish dash. That's good. Okay. Go ahead and grab that pepper. We're going to add all of that. I'd say that's about a tablespoon. We don't use measurements in this house. That's good. Keep going. There you go. Now grab the salt. And we're going to go ahead and add...
All of it?
Yeah, what the hell. Dump it all in. We could always cut it if we need to. Go ahead. Perfect. All right. So we have all those ingredients in. We're going to go ahead and stir them.
Can I spot?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm probably once again going to add a whole nother crushed tomato can in this. And those are, I think, the 48-ounce cans of... tomato sauce. 28 ounce. I can't read. 28 ounce cans. So we're going to end up adding 3 of those total into our ingredients here. So from here, we just let it cook. That's really the last thing we had to do. We're just going to let it cook for as long as we can. Don't be afraid to taste it periodically. Now that we have everything cooked in there, the meat's cooked, we can go ahead and start tasting it to see where our flavors are at. We are about a half hour in. Have my lid on for now. Again, if you leave your lid on, it's not going to evaporate as much. Mine does have the little pressure hole in there. But when you take that off, you're going to see in here what's going on. We're on medium still, not cooking above medium, and we're boiling. So see a lot of color in there, a lot of red to it, a lot of browns. But you have those little bright flashes of yellow and green in there. So my only recommendation is back off the heat as it cooks. You know, as you start to get a point, if you could fill, you know, I always like to push this along the bottom. Do I fill anything down there? No. So I'm just going to keep stirring it. You might say it looks pretty watery. Well, you wait a couple hours and you see how it looks. So for this video, this is where I'm going to stop because I'm not going to come back every hour and keep doing videos. But one point here, we're just going to go ahead and turn this to low and then just let it simmer. You could cook it all day. If you do this in the morning and you got like football games on and you just want it for night, leave it on low all day. It'll stay nice and hot in there. Leave it out overnight if it's cold outside enough, or you could put it somewhere in your garage. I always like to do that. If it's in the winter, I store it out in the garage the whole time. Just keep going back to and keep ladling it out. So that is what I'm going to say for this chili. Again, I could call this an Oktoberfest, Great Lakes Oktoberfest chili if I wanted to. But this is my recipe. It has the venison in it, the deer meat. That's important to me. That's why I hunt, is so I can eat it. And this is basically the main way that we cook that, besides having some chops and stuff. So if you like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. If you have any questions about this or anything that you might have, go ahead and leave that in the comments below. I monitor them daily. I will get back to you. But the last thing I want to say, this is your chili. You can do whatever you want from here. You could add beans if you wanted to. You can add different spices. You can make it hotter if you want. And it's all about your taste buds. So this is a good base. You saw the spices I threw in. I got to taste it again and just see where it's at and add more of this, less of this. Some people put sugar in. It's just up to you. So hope you enjoy this chili. A great fall chili. Great winter chili too. Enjoy it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.